Welcome to the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Having a gang of mentors in this industry has been a blessing that we wanted to share with you. Our core group has been traveling together and comparing notes about life and business for years. Tune in as we delve into topics with others in the industry that you are sure to love and make you laugh.
Hello, gang. Thank you guys for joining another episode of the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. You're stuck with me as the hostess with the mostest, Brandon Mullen. And today I have the great pleasure of having Dr. Troy Pittman on from Somenek and Pittman. You guys may have heard of him or his husband. They are an amazing dynamic duo who owns Somenek and Pittman Plastic Surgery in DC and now in New York City with their second location. He is a board-certified aesthetic breast and body surgeon who is known for transforming people's lives mentally and physically. They have an amazing podcast, The Blade and Beyond. And yeah, you guys are just doing amazing things. But so I think we'll get started. If you don't mind, Troy, was just talking about how you got into plastic surgery first before we get into our main topic today.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to join you today. So how did I get into plastic surgery? Well, I started in general surgery and I did a general surgery residency at Rush and at Cook County. And Cook County Hospital is kind of the mecca of the United States as far as trauma, and it's the hospital where the show ER was supposed to take place.
Oh, nice.
And so I went to Chicago because I thought I was going to be a trauma surgeon. And all it took was about a month on the trauma service at Cook County. And I was like, this is not for me. It's
not my jam.
So unpredictable. I can't come to work every day and not know what's going to happen. But, I really liked in general surgery. I love breast surgery, vascular surgery, and things that were really kind of delicate surgeries. And I wanted to find something that really combined all of those things. And plastic surgery is kind of where I landed.
That's amazing. And I think it's equally amazing that you have grown your practice in DC so much that you needed a second location. You have to spread your love and your talent across the country, right? You guys just opened the doors to New York City not too long ago, correct?
Yes, we realized that it was time to go to New York and make money rather than just go to New York and spend money. And so hence the office there.
Nice. That's amazing. And the only reason I think, well, not the only reason, but a big reason that we're able to record today is to talk about taking care of ourselves, because you've kind of been in a situation where you're forced to take care of yourself. So do you want to kind of detail the story for the people that didn't catch the highlights on your Instagram?
Yeah. So I have at baseline, okay, so I have really bad bunions. And a little known fact that people don't know is before I went into medicine, I was a dancer in New York.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
All dancers have horrible feet. So I have really bad bunions and really dealt with kind of years of arthritis in my first toe. And I also have really bad hammer toes. And really kind of ignored that. And other than the fact that my feet look like I look like Shrek, and nothing really bothered me. But the pain, the arthritic pain in all of those toes kind of kept getting a little bit worse. But I would take Advil and I would just kind of shake it off. And about a year ago, I was actually walking through New York City and I immediately got excruciating pain in my second toe. Like I'd stepped on something. And I thought, okay, well, that's weird. And my foot was really swollen and I ignored it and took Advil and ignored it and ignored it. Went to the doctor and the doctor was like, oh, it looks like you have a little bit of a dislocation of your toe.
Mm-hmm.
And he put me in this little brace that I wore under my foot, and it actually kept everything fine for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as I took that little brace off, even for like a day, I was wearing like ugly sandals to the OR instead of my cute little gardening clogs that I normally wear.
Uh-huh.
And so as soon as I would take that brace off, my toe would get huge. And so the pain got bad enough that I went to get an MRI, and I had ended up actually I had dislocated the toe from the foot bone.
Ooh.
So basically, the tarsus and the metatarsal had the plate had torn, and I think that pain that I was feeling suddenly that day was the day that the plate tore, and so the bones were like laying on top of each other.
Ugh.
And the doctor was like, okay, you need to have surgery because this is now a surgical problem,
Mm-hmm.
the dislocation. And it was so crazy. The immediate, like, I became one of those people that was like, I can't have surgery. I can't do this. I don't have time
Mm-hmm.
to have surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really kind of walked for about 6 months on this dislocation and dealt with a ton of pain. But there was kind of this psychology um, of weakness. Like as a surgeon, I can't have surgery. I can't be out of work because they said 2 weeks of bed rest,
Mm-hmm.
and bed rest meaning like bed rest with your foot up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can't do that. Like, I have a business to run. I just opened an office. That's not going to happen. But there was also this really weird psychology of like, what are the patients going to think? And then it gets like really trippy because I start thinking like, okay, if I'm in a consult and I'm wearing a boot, are the patients going to be like, oh, he's weak, like I can't go to this surgeon? And I kind of joked with all of my friends. I was like, I've got a whole one liner of like, it's my feet, not my hands. But it really, I put it off out of really this little voice inside my head saying, you can't have surgery because surgeons don't have surgery,
Right.
particularly ones that are going to keep them off their feet and out of the operating room. So I ignored it a little bit more. And to make a long story short, I actually ended up fracturing the bone because the bones are on top, like sitting on top of each other. And then it became like, I went to the doctor and he was like, okay, so now, like, when in the next 4 weeks do you want to have surgery? Or will you have surgery? It wasn't even like a want anymore. And so I ended up having to realize that I'm human, and I blocked the schedule for 2 weeks at work. And, the pain had gotten so bad. It was so I almost started looking forward to it because I was like, this is at least going to get me out of this pain.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
That's crazy. So I want to take a step back to that, like 6 months that you were just walking around in complete agony before you actually broke it. Like, what was your mindset every day that kept you going? Did you just ignore it? Were you just chewing on Advil and praying that it wouldn't get any worse? Or
Well, we've hung out before. The way, I love dressing up. I love my nice shoes. I actually had been relegated to sneakers.
Okay.
So I really could only wear sneakers. And so then I kind of convinced myself it was like my new look, that I was like the guy in sneakers with his suit. I actually hate that look. But I became the guy in sneakers. And so as long as I was wearing sneakers before the fracture, as long as I was wearing sneakers and the little brace, I could get through my day. And then if anybody knows what UFOs are, they're like orthopedic sandals.
Okay.
You're like, oh.
I know. I was like, yeah, they just don't even sound sexy.
Yeah. So I would wear UFOs all day in the OR. So it was a lot, but that's how I got through. I just kind of pushed through and wore really kind of my sneakers. And I went and I bought like 5 different colors of Prada sneakers so I could at least coordinate them with my outfits.
Well, that's smart. I mean, at least you have to, if you're going to be in sneakers, they might as well be fashionable. And are Prada sneakers comfortable?
They're so comfortable.
Okay.
Like, I maybe Prada's listening right now and I'll get like a little gift, but I will tell you that the Prada sneakers, and I can't even remember the line of what they're called. I mean, they do make them in like a million. I think they're called Prada World Cup sneakers.
Okay.
They are the most comfortable sneaker. I mean, and I have like Under Armour, Nike, Gucci sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
But for like fashion sneakers, these are like better than any running sneaker you could get. They're amazing.
Interesting. Okay. Not me Googling that right after we get done. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that just has to show like how much dedication you have for your practice and your patients and your business. I'm curious though, the number one kind of fear that you verbalized was like the patient perception of you. Not so much that like your business would suffer, but like you are so dedicated to your patients and what they think of you and having to reschedule things. Was that like creating a ton of anxiety for you?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that in aesthetics, it's so crazy because the number of times I've gone to the office with like, bruises from filler or a
Mhm.
black eye from, having Radiesse injected or Botox injections, like I would go and I'd own it. I'd be like, yeah, I just got filler in my cheeks and now I have a big bruise.
Yeah.
Or I had laser and I look like I just came back from vacationing on the sun. And we would always kind of laugh about it. But
Mhm.
there was something about, I think, orthopedics and being incapacitated
Mhm.
that was something that really was so anxiety provoking.
Mhm.
And I think that I was probably so nervous about being less than as far
Mhm.
as not being able to move that I basically projected that on all of the patients. The patients really, they could give two shits, really. I mean, they have been wonderful.
Yeah.
I've been doing all of my post-ops from all the surgeries I've done in the last 3 weeks. I've done all the post-ops with my staff. They connected an iPad to like a little wheelie stand. So I'm basically a
Oh,
floating head on an
that's
iPad.
amazing.
And so I mean, from my bed, with all my pillows around me, FaceTimed with the patients and wheeling that iPad into the room to see the patients,
Mhm.
you could just see their faces like kind of light up. They were like, "Oh my god!" Uh, and it became kind of like my 1 week breast reduction patient. I'm like, okay, we're recovery buddies now. Like I'm going to recover, you're going to go and you're going to recover. We'll
Aw.
be back here in 2 weeks in the office together and we'll be, we'll both be better. And so it's a talk track, right? So
Yeah.
I found a way to make it work.
That's amazing. I think that's a great kind of workaround to your immobility right now. And is there anything that you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I could do something different going forward because of this forced bed rest? Is there any way that you might change the way that you do things going forward because of this?
Like all of my post-ops will now be done from Miami. I will show up to operate 3 days a week. Otherwise, you'll never see me. No. Yeah, it's interesting because I do think that it's a lesson in setting patient expectations
Mhm.
because all of the patients that were signed up for surgery who chose the dates right before my surgery,
Mhm.
we had a talk with them like you're only going to see the nurse, but my nurses are so amazing and they see the patients pre-op and they have a relationship with the patients.
Mhm.
And so I mean, patients were really like, "That's okay. I don't need to see you. We're fine seeing Caitlin." So I think that the patients really want to be taken care of,
Mhm.
and it doesn't always have to be the surgeon who's taking care of them when you have a really good staff.
Mhm. That's amazing. I think that's great that, I mean, obviously that speaks to the trust that they have in your entire team, knowing that they're still going to get eyes on them, of course, but I mean, you're still there in a semi-robotic capacity, which is awesome. Um, One question I have, and you do have to be honest, is
Okay.
Michael a good nurse, or did you have to pay someone to come take care of you?
No, he's the best. I mean, like really, uh, really the best because first of all, he's like a gourmet cook. And so
Hmm.
he did all this meal prep so that, and it wasn't like pizza, it
Hmm.
was bone broth, and every
Ooh.
single thing that I drank has collagen powder in it. And he's poisoning me with so much turmeric or anti-inflammatory. But I mean, it's really like having a chef that you live with who's like making all of these anti-inflammatory, low carb, high protein meals.
Wow.
And then, one morning, probably like the third morning, I didn't feel well at all, and I was like, I can't get out of bed because I
Hmm.
usually would hobble downstairs for my 1 half hour out of bed. I would go
Hmm.
downstairs and I would have coffee with him. And one day I was like, I can't get out of bed. I didn't sleep well, and I kind of fell back asleep. And I woke up, and next to my bed was a cup of coffee, breakfast. Next to that was lunch, and then snacks. It was like he had packed my whole day on the bedside table, so I didn't have to get out of bed.
That's
So
adorable.
he's great.
Oh, I smell like this could be an extension of services that you guys provide, some sort of meal service,
Recovery meals, yes.
Yeah, recovery meals, like five-star recovery meals. I really think that could be a thing. And when you guys get free time after, New York settled and you're bored, right? Then you could do this
But he cooks dinner every single night.
every night.
Yeah. I mean, um, he like we never go out to dinner
Oh my gosh.
unless we're in New York.
Yeah.
We don't really go out to dinner. And so whether it's like salmon, and I think he's figured out a way to make everything out of cauliflower.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he is like, I'm like, why do you do this? You don't have to cook. We could even do like mighty meals or something. And he's like, no,
Hmm.
I want to be in control over our nutrition. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he's kind of insane about it.
Well, bless his heart. I mean, I would rather just make something in a blender, and I'm the worst cook. My husband is much better than me, but
Same.
we've gotten so lazy.
Yeah, I
I
can't even boil an egg.
I learned how to fry an egg at the ripe age of 38. I watched a thing on TikTok or something, and I learned how to do like a sunny side up egg or a dippy egg or whatever the hell they're called.
Right.
But that's the extent of my culinary masterpieces. I don't have any other claim to fame. I would much rather dial a phone and have something show up.
Oh yeah. I mean, I cooking is tedious. Cooking feels almost like being at work.
Yeah, right.
So I don't want to cook. Uh,
Yeah,
well, really, even when I'm not at work, I don't want to cook.
yeah, exactly.
So
It's just a good excuse not to cook.
yeah, exactly.
No, that's amazing. But so general self-care going forward, do you think that you're going to take any more time to dedicate to, I don't doing something more pleasurable that's like exercise oriented? I guess I should ask, what was your favorite thing to do before all of your foot stuff, or did that prohibit
Peloton.
Peloton? Okay.
Yeah. And so,
Hmm.
even, Peloton became a little bit not so comfortable.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that was Peloton is my jam. So
Hmm.
I'm actually excited to get back on the bike.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And my bunion was so big that the I have a little worn spot in my shoe from the
Hmm.
bunion hitting on the thingy. So
Oh,
I'm going to be bunion free on the Peloton. I can't wait.
yeah. You might have to get a new pair of shoes.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's great. Yeah, I know I've fallen in love with Pilates lately. Ashley got me addicted to a studio when I'm down there in Alexandria, and I can't find the same thing in Pittsburgh. It's something similar, but it's just not as good. And now I just wish I had like that same experience up here, but I've been trying to do that. And hot yoga, I love hot yoga in the winter.
Do you feel like Pilates, when you're on that machine, doesn't it just feel like you're going to be kind of ripped in half?
Not, no,
It
not ripped
looks
in half. I
like
feel like I'm going to fall off.
device.
I initially I thought it was like a little bit intimidating, but we took a couple private classes and got the hang of it. And once you understand like the tension of like the whole reformer and like how the different parts work, it's not so scary.
Okay.
It's funny you say that because I took a really hard class this afternoon and I like heard after it and I was like, yeah, this is the level that I want to be at. But I almost fell off the damn thing. And it did kind of scare me for a minute that I was going to like lose my life, but it would have been in a good way. So it's fine.
Right. Right. It's a little bit more glamorous than just like passing out on the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah. Or getting hit by like a Chevy or something,
Right.
like it's something it gives a little bit of a story to put on the back of the tombstone. No, that's great. And I'm just so glad that we could take this time and, when you started to post on, I think, I think it was your first or second day and you were like, okay, now I'm bored. I'm like, I feel like I would be the same way. I really wanted to connect with you and just share your experience because I think just providers, especially healthcare providers, we're so used to taking care of others.
Right.
And even though we kind of do it in a different capacity in aesthetics, it's still, providing care, but we really need to understand and make sure that we're taking time to carve out for ourselves as well and not, keep putting things off if we need to take a break ourselves, because like you said, we are human, and I heard you say that you understand now you're human, you're not a robot.
Right. And I think, when it comes to kind of self-care and taking care of health issues, that is, I think, you can extrapolate across the board with that, as far as whether that means taking that long vacation with your partner or taking your children on a summer vacation. And I think all of us, going somewhere with your parents who are aging, we get into this mindset in medicine, all of us, that particularly I do think kind of in aesthetics, because we don't work at a hospital where the patients are just kind of like on a revolving door basis and they're always there. I think in aesthetics, in private practice, we kind of have in our head, well, if I'm not there, like the patients are going to stop coming because they're going to be like, well, he's not there. And I think giving yourself a little bit of grace and saying, I can take 2 weeks off and the world is not going to end. My patients aren't going to abandon me, is something that we could actually, I mean, mine was forced because of surgery, but I think my ability to let myself take a little bit of a longer vacation than 4 days is probably, it kind of taught me a lesson.
That's great. And sometimes you need things like this to happen so you have those realizations.
Yeah, right.
I know this past Christmas holiday, we were off for 3 weeks and everyone around me was like, oh my God, what's happening? How are people getting, but we prepared for it. We got everybody and we worked really hard before that break. And guess what? Nobody died because they didn't get their Botox. So, it, as long as things are planned and even with unplanned things, I think, people can become resilient and flexible when they need to be. And we need to give ourselves that grace as well when it comes to our health and wellness.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Bio 101, organisms under stress adapt to that stress or they die. But I mean, I think we're all much more adaptable than we think we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to wish you a speedy recovery, but not too speedy, as long as you need to.
Thank you.
Take that time off and get better. And if anyone would like to get in touch with you for any sort of any kind of breast or body surgery or anything else that your practice offers, because are you doing aesthetics in New York as well?
Yes.
Okay. So aesthetics in DC and New York.
Same menu of services.
Awesome. Do you want to give everyone all the socials to get in contact with you?
Yeah, my social on Instagram is at Dr. Troy Pittman, 2 T's, Pittman. And then I have a really nice before and after page called Dr. Troy Pittman _ before and after, where you can actually see a gallery of my work. And you can always reach us at somenekpittmanmd.com or call the office.
Awesome. All right. And we'll put all that information in the bio underneath the episode. But thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Have a great day. And thank you, Troy, for joining us.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at The Aesthetics Injector Gang.